For example, somebody might say, wait me, because they know the word wait in English and they know the word me in English. And in Vietnamese, maybe some people say chờ tôi, so they will say, oh, wait me. But in English, we say, wait for me. Wait for me. If they had listened to enough English, they would know that we say, wait for me, not just wait me. I've had many English friends who spoke English really fluently, and they didn't study or use flashcards. They never even took notes. But one thing in common that they all did was they listened a lot. So they either listened to YouTube or to Netflix. They watched a lot of English programs. And honestly, I thought they lived abroad because their English was so good. But then they told me, no, I never lived abroad. I only lived in Vietnam, but I watched a lot of English programs. So what I would recommend is that you listen for at least 15 minutes each day. Try to make this active listening. Active listening is when you are not doing anything else, you are just listening and focusing. You don't have to understand everything, and you won't understand everything, but just try to listen. And if you listen to a podcast on YouTube or a TV show on Netflix, then you can check the subtitles when you don't understand a word. I wouldn't recommend just reading as you watch it, because when we read, our brain tends to just focus on the reading and not listen as much. And that makes us think our listening is better than it is. So just try to listen, and then if you don't understand a word, check the subtitles. Also, for listening on YouTube, you can download the app Language Reactor. This is totally free. And Language Reactor will display both English and Vietnamese subtitles for you. And guys, remember, there is no magic pill. There is no shortcut. All of these tips take time. But if you do them each day and you don't give up, then your speaking will just get better and better and better. And some shows that people recommend all the time for good reason are shows like How I Met Your Mother and Friends, because you will be able to learn conversational English. This is how we often speak in real life. And all of these shows have subtitles as well. So it's pretty perfect. All right, guys. Tip number 4 is to read. Now, in the same way listening benefits speaking, reading also benefits speaking. According to a study published by the International Journal of Linguistics, the author says that, and I quote, one of the most useful ways to improve our communication skills is extensive reading. Extensive reading will help us develop our ability to express ideas, feelings, and emotions, and also enlarge the size of our vocabulary. And of course, vocabulary is extremely important for speaking. You must have vocabulary. And when you read, often you're saying those words in your head. And so you're seeing grammar structures again, and you're seeing words, and everything is being repeated in your brain. So reading helps grammar become more automatic because you see how the structures are. And you'll have a better sense of when you're not saying it correctly. And also, you can listen to audiobooks while you read in case you're not sure how to say the word. So, for each tip, I like to give you a specific example of what you can do. If you read online, many people will say, oh, read Harry Potter. I honestly don't think Harry Potter is the best book for reading because there are many words that we honestly never say, and it can be quite difficult. So one series that I'll recommend to you guys is called The Chronicles of Narnia. These books are a bit easier to read than Harry Potter, and they're still really interesting. I remember reading the Chronicles of Narnia when I was very young, maybe like grade 6. I can't totally remember, but the point is they are good, they're easy, so you can start with the book The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Try it out, see if you like it. Maybe you want to read Harry Potter? Go ahead. As long as you read anything, it's totally fine. But The Chronicles of Narnia is a suggestion for you that is not Harry Potter. And so, guys, for the last tip, this tip kind of complements all the other tips because this is something you can do on top of speaking to natives or shadowing or reading, also reading out loud. And this tip is to record yourself. I know when you hear record yourself, you're like, no, that is the one thing I am not going to do. But it's often the things we don't want to do that end up helping us the most, right? So when you record yourself, you will hear errors in your speaking that you never noticed before. And maybe no one told you about because maybe they still understand you and they're not going to say, hey, you said that word wrong because they understood you. But if you really want to take your speaking and pronunciation to the next level, record yourself. You will see what you're doing wrong, and the first time you do it, it's honestly shocking. Like, I thought my Vietnamese was good before, and I recorded myself. And when I listened back, I was like, is that actually like how I sound when I speak Vietnamese? Because it sounded so weird. Like, it didn't sound like a Vietnamese person at all. It sounded like me, but not in English, and it was just really weird. So just try if you do something like a Cambly class or if you're shadowing. Oh, and Cambly automatically records it so you can just check the video. But if you're doing some shadowing or reading, just record yourself and listen again. And then you can write down certain sounds that you say wrong or certain structures that you misused or whatever. Write down the things that you did wrong, and then that way you can focus only on the things you need to work on. All right, guys, so that is the podcast for today. I think this one will be pretty long. I'm not sure exactly how long I've been recording, but yeah. So, by the way, I'm sorry it took so long to put another podcast out, but it's finally here and more will come, I promise. Things will just get better and better in terms of how often I post and the quality of my videos. So, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening, whatever you're doing, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye. What's up, everyone? Chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đến với podcast Slow and Clear của What's up, everyone? Chào các bạn và chào mừng các bạn đến với podcast Slow and Clear.
Thật sự mà nói, đối với mình, tiếng Anh đã mở ra cho mình quá nhiều cơ hội, kể cả trong cuộc sống lẫn trong công việc.
What's up, everyone? Chào các bạn và chào mừng các bạn đến với podcast Slow and Clear của What's Up English. Now, I know speaking is a very difficult skill to improve. That's why in this video, I'm going to give you guys 5 tips to improve your English speaking skills. And these are tips that if you use at least one of them every day, your speaking will get better. It's pretty much guaranteed. Now, before I give you these 5 tips, I want to talk a little bit about speaking first. So many people think speaking is simple because when you speak your native language, when you speak Vietnamese, for example, you just speak. You don't have to think about how to say the words. You don't think about the grammar. Maybe you think a little bit about the vocabulary, but if someone asks you a question in Vietnamese, all you have to think about is the actual answer to that question. You're not thinking about how to answer it, which grammar to use, all that stuff, right? And that is because those skills have become automatic for you over years of listening to and using Vietnamese. Now, when you try to speak English, those things are not automatic. So when you speak English, your brain has to think about first the grammar structure of the sentence, the vocabulary you're going to use, the pronunciation of each word, and you're wondering, am I saying this right? Can the other person understand? So you're thinking about all of that on top of the actual answer to the question. So that is a lot for your brain to do at one time. And that's why the process of speaking actually is not simple. But we can make it a lot easier if we can make pronunciation automatic. We don't have to think about it. We can make the grammar automatic, and the same with words. In order to speak fluently, all of those things must be automatic. So the only thing you will have to think about is your answer to the question or what you will actually say. So that's why these tips are going to make those things more automatic in your brain, so it will just come to you like in Vietnamese. And this brings us to tip number 1, which is shadowing. So what is shadowing? Shadowing is when you copy somebody, basically. You are their shadow. So here, I'm not sure if you can see a shadow, but every time I move my arm, the shadow moves. It does exactly what I am doing, right? Shadowing someone is the same thing. So the goal of shadowing is to mimic or copy somebody as closely as possible. You want to mimic the way they say the word. You want to mimic their pronunciation, their intonation. You want to basically sound like them as much as you can. So that is what shadowing is. You listen and you copy. So this is a higher level activity. It's not meant for total beginners. At least you want to be an upper beginner where you can already speak some English and you know the sounds. And what shadowing will help you with is it will help you make your pronunciation automatic because it improves the muscle memory of your tongue and of your mouth. So when you are shadowing, you don't have to think about what sentences you're making. All you have to think about is making the sounds as accurately as possible. So I recommend you try shadowing podcasts like this one, regular YouTube videos, even audiobooks. It also depends what level your English is. For example, if you try to shadow like a vlog where they just speak naturally, that can be really hard because they speak really fast. But if you can do it, then great. But if your pronunciation is not at that level yet, then you can practice shadowing a podcast again, like this podcast or any other podcast, and audiobooks. Because in audiobooks, they pronounce the words very clearly. You can also slow the video down a bit. You can put it to like 0.75 or zero point 0.8. I remember when I was learning Vietnamese, I would listen to some channels like Giang ơi or Andrew Bai Bong, and I would slow them down to about 0.75, and then I would shadow them as closely as I could. Now, shadowing requires your focus to be 100%. You want to be listening as closely as you can to the speaker and copying them as closely as you can. Now, I would recommend you shadow in the beginning, maybe just 5 to 10 minutes each day. Even if you do it for just 5 minutes a day, your pronunciation will get much better. But stay consistent. Don't do it one day and then you're not fluent in English, so you're like, oh, it doesn't work, and then you give up. Do it every day for at least 2 weeks, and you will see your pronunciation get much better. All right, so shadowing, it helps with your pronunciation, but it doesn't really help with making your own sentences because the speaker is doing that. Your brain is not making the sentences. You're just listening and repeating. So this leads to tip number 2, which is to turn your passive vocabulary into active vocabulary. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you're listening to this podcast, then you can probably understand a lot of what I'm saying. But even though you can understand me and maybe even shadow me, you likely can't speak as fluently as I do when you have to speak and make your own sentences. And this can be really frustrating because if you can understand me, then why is it so hard to speak English like me? Well, the reason is because a lot of the English words that you know are still in your passive vocabulary. Your passive vocabulary is the words and grammar structures that you can understand but can't use. Because in your brain, when you try to speak, the connections for speaking those words aren't strong enough yet. You can understand them. When you hear them, you know what they mean, but you can't say them in daily conversation. That is your passive vocabulary. On the other hand, the words you understand and the words you can use when you speak English are in your active vocabulary. So to be able to use those words that you know and understand, you need to turn them into active vocabulary. But how do you do that? It's simple, but not so easy. You just have to start using your passive vocabulary. And every time you use those words, the easier they become to use again in the future. So you might be thinking, okay, but how can I use my passive vocabulary when I have no one to talk to? Well, if you're learning by yourself, you can think of a word in your passive vocabulary and try to write a few sentences using that word. For example, if you understand the phrase even though, but you can't use it when you speak English, then take your time and try to make a few sentences with that phrase. For example, you could write the phrase, I went to bed even though I wasn't sleepy. But if you're someone that prefers to talk to real people, then you can try to join some clubs or make friends with native speakers. But I know that is easier said than done when you live in Vietnam. So this is why I've partnered up with Cambly, which is a service that lets you practice speaking with native speakers at any time of the day and about nearly any topic. So you can talk about daily life, you can practice your job interviews, or you can even practice IELTS questions. Many of you might already know about Cambly's one-on-one classes, but now they also offer group classes, which are fantastic to practice your speaking skills and learn about cultures around the world. Now, guys, obviously, I wouldn't recommend you anything that I haven't tried and that I actually think is useful. So, a few days ago, I booked a group lesson with Cambly and I recorded it so you guys can see what it's like. Here's a clip of it.
So, first of all, why are you studying English is the first thing that I would love to know.
Okay, I'm studying English to do an exam, to get some grade at the exam, and yeah, to talk English. It is important in Brazil if you have a good job and they can see if you talk English, you can be promoted.
So I decided to back to English because I studied English when I was teenager, and I used it to practice more English when on my
So so hard, so hard, so tired, but try, but it's trying. I don't know. I think JavaScript. I listened.
7. I don't know. I think JavaScript is my favorite programming language because I can design websites based on my thoughts. I want to learn English. Do you have any advice for me?
What? I want.
7. I don't know. I think JavaScript is my favorite programming language because I can design websites based on my thoughts. I want to learn English. Do you have any advice for me?
Do you have advice for me? I think JavaScript is rich on. Oh, JavaScript is a great choice. Mm. Fuck you. Slightest. I think JavaScript is my favorite language.
7. I don't know. I think JavaScript is my favorite programming language because I can design websites based on my thoughts. I want to learn English. Do you have any advice for me?
Mm. Super is a great choice. Uh, mm, is it's very uh very versatile, and essential, essential. And essential. Essential. Why I cannot remember. Why I cannot remember. Essential. Why? Oh my god. JavaScript is a great choice. It's very versatile and versatile. It's versatile. Versatile. Ver, no. Versatile and essential for web development, for learning English. Here are some tips. Here are some tips. Practice, 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 reg, practice regularly. Um, uh, try to speak, right? Try to speak, uh, right, and listening in right, and listen right. Read every day in English. Every day in English. Uh, ừm, còn gì nữa nhỉ? Còn gì nữa ta? Trời ơi, sao mình không nhớ trời. Um, what TV What movie and TV shows? And TV show. Uh, that description. Description. Uh, I don't remember. I do not remember. TV show. Mm, what movie and TV shows? I don't remember. Uh, description. Um, that have. That's. That. 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 Have. Um, that have. That helps. Uh, that helps. With listening skills. Uh, and and um and understanding uh different accent, right? Um, reading, read a book, read a book and article, 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 articles, articles, articles. Read a book and read a book and article. Mm, what is that description? What is description? Uh, what is Dickinson? I try to remember. Um, mhm. I try to remember description. And I try to remember. I try to remember. Um, cái gì ta? I try to remember. I try to remember. Read the book and an article. Read a book and article. Um, start 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 with start with start with uh simple text uh text 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 uh uh and grad gradual gradually gra- gra- gradually uh gradually 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 uh gradually and uh, and and gradual and gradually and uh, gradually move to more complex ones. Mm, uh, use uh, language apps um, apps like apps like Duolingo, Babel, uh, uh, or uh, Rose, Rosetta Stone uh, can be very helpful. Um, what join uh, English speaking groups. Uh, join English speaking groups. Uh, Um, find, 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 um, find, com, find online, find online communities, or local group, where I can practice, uh, uh, practice, uh, uh, speaking in English. Uh, keep a journal. Uh, keep a journal, right? Um, write a little, write a write a little, every day in English. Um, uh, can be, it can be is can be, called today. It is can be, no, it can be thôi. It can be about your day, uh, your thoughts, or anything you like. Uh, get a partner, get a partner, get a language partner. Mm, I I don't remember, uh, description of, of this. I try to remember. Mm, um, practice, speak practice speaking with, uh, practice speaking with, someone who uh, who is fluent in English. Um, uh, do you have any, specific errors, in English, that you find challenging? Trời ơi, nói một đoạn mà nó khó thế. Thì nói một đoạn nó khó vậy. I try so. Oh my god.
Đâu ơi, Lương ơi, chạm quá. Kẹo của giờ này ông chưa ngủ hả chạy?
What it is?
Đâu ơi, Lương ơi, chạm quá. Kẹo của giờ này ông chưa ngủ hả chạy?
Try to speak JavaScript. Great Joy is very versatile and essential for web development, uh, for learning English. Um, Nghĩ là cái này cũng nghe được rồi, nghe cái này rồi. Mình phải nghe cả đoạn dài tí mà chẳng. Oh my god, oh my god. Trời ơi, sao viết tiếng Anh nó khó thế nhỉ? Viết tiếng Anh nó khó cũng khó chứ đùa. Dịch đâu? JavaScript is great choice. The fuck? JavaScript is a great choice. Is very versatile and essential for web development. For learning English, here are some tips. Uh, practice, 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 practice practice regularly, practice regularly, practice regularly, practice regularly, Practice regularly. Practice regularly. JavaScript is a great choice for JavaScript is a great choice. Um, mm, 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 mm. JavaScript is a great choice. Is very versatile and essential for web development. 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 So hard. Của chặn bố. Sorry everybody.